How to Play The Problem with the Muslims by me, Grant Sharkey. Hi, I'm in my smart car that I'm raffling off. Just to show you how big it is, I've brought the bass in here. It's pretty cramped, but hey, don't worry about that. Right, the first thing to do when playing The Problem with the Muslims is to thank the venue for being a place where you can play songs like this. Obviously, the song, the title is a joke. It's about that time when I go around the country and I was playing I'm Sorry to Hear You're a Racist, and I call that a master race and stuff like that. And I get to have lots and lots of chats about racism and Islam and stuff like that. And every now and then you'll meet one guy who basically tells me all the problems with the Muslims. And I go, wow, I didn't know. All of my experiences with Muslims have been pretty positive. So I can't believe this guy knows more than me about this. You know, it's just one of those things. And so it's about that guy. It's about the guy that seems to have all the answers about the Muslims and about why we should probably do sort of really horrible things that we wouldn't do to other people to them. So it's a big piss take of those guys. It's a new song. It's going to be off the new album, The Troubadour. So you might not have heard this one. I have been playing it out and about a little bit. I played it at an open mic a little while ago, and one guy got really angry about it. But he was also a massive cokehead. Who cares? He got really angry. I'm not entirely sure what his problem was. I saw him bogging me out all the way through the song. He was a white guy with a sort of an estate agent sort of feel about him. He also, in the middle of the night, also had his shades attached to the back of his head like Guy Fieri from Diners, Drive-Ins and Dives. So obviously he was cool as fuck, and I wasn't cool as fuck for singing this song. Okay. So the song is basically a conversation that happens with sort of a hypothetical conglomeration of all these people that I've encountered along the way, who've managed to tell me everything that's wrong with the Muslims, it seems, without ever encountering one themselves. To play the song, it's basically you need two fingers for the whole song. It's in D. You need your pinky on the little D up here all the time, and then your index finger does all the moving. And it's sort of a slow sort of ballad song. Okay, so it starts off with a D, and then a D flat, and then a B, and then an A, and then a B flat, and then an A, and then you move the pinky, and you go back to the D. It's a resolve. It's sort of like Tears in Heaven by the old Eric Clapton. Okay, so that's how the verses go, and then there's two sort of middle eights or bridges, which are just a G with a 10th, you know, my favourite 10th chord, and an A with a 10th, which is also my favourite 10th chord, and that just goes up and down a few times. Right, okay, and then so the first verse is essentially you've got to set up the song right, so you've got to make sure that people know that it's about the people that tell you the problem about the Muslims all the time. Okay, so the first verse goes, the problem with the Muslims is they just don't integrate, says a man who only integrates down the pub. He says they're brainwashed zealots of a cult that worships hate, and we should know because he's made out of pure love. This is what we get when we give lonely, angry drunks the internet. Okay, so that's the first verse. So the problem with the Muslims is they just don't integrate. That's something that I've been told about. And I also figure that I spend a lot of time as well in places that sell alcohol where you don't see very many Muslims because alcohol isn't a thing they do. So it always makes me sort of laugh out loud when people say, oh, they don't integrate. And then you go, well, do you want to come away from the pub for a weekend? And they go, no. it's an hypocrisy essentially. So there's the he says they're brainwashed zealots of a cult that worships hate, and he should know because he's made out of pure love. Now that line, often in my head whilst I'm singing it, I keep thinking, should that be, and he should know because he read it in the Sun. But there's also that I don't know whether to keep going on the Murdoch thing or not, because he might be dead soon, I hope. Anyway, so he's made out of pure love is obviously a funny thing. This is what we get. Oh, sorry, I started that on the wrong note. This is what we get when we let lonely, angry drunks have the internet. A lot of the people that tell me the problem with the Muslims are also the same people that are up at 4 o'clock in the morning, replying to various posts on Facebook about what the problem with the Muslims is. They're also the same people that share sort of the rebel news, Tommy Robinson sort of stuff as well. You just go, hang on, there's a correlation here. If they're on the internet that late at night and they're watching all these Tommy Robinson movies, maybe they're being subjected to hate-filled propaganda. Possibly. So yeah, it's just what they're the same sort of guys who always play the victim so that they can victimize other people. Oh, but I don't like them, but I should be allowed to say that. Why do you hate me for being able to say that? Ah. It's just noise. It's just fucking noise. That's all it is. Okay, second verse. This one's directly aimed at the guy who got pissed off the other day. Fortuitously, I wrote this and obviously tweaked his little tweak face. Okay, the problem with the Muslims is they don't obey our laws, says a man who's chopping up cocaine in the bogs. And the way they treat their women makes him hate them even more, before he goes off and begs the barmaid to wank him off for 20 quid. This hypocrisy will be the end of you and me. Okay, so that's the second verse. So he hates the fact that they don't obey our laws, even though he's probably not a law-abiding citizen himself. And obviously the way they treat their women makes him hate them even more. It's just that, again, the double standard of it seems to be prevalent in this whole thing. Is, you know, I hate the way they treat their women, and then treat women quite badly from the white people that he thinks are better or something. I don't know exactly what it is. Basically, if you're going to stand up for women's rights, stand up for all women's rights, because all women have been routinely and systematically oppressed by men forever. So let's just knock that one on the head. Okay, so and then there's this is what we get. This hypocrisy will be the end of you and me. That's basically it. I see the more we start dividing lines between each other, the more we're going to end up dead. Look at Trump. Look at Kim Jong-un. Look at all of the fucking Nazis. Look at you know, the more we divide ourselves completely pointlessly as well. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the really annoying thing. It's going to be the end of the world. That's the way I see it. We're going to not have computer games anymore, or smart cars, or hair. So yeah, that's basically it. Then the third verse is actually the switch around. So you've got to remember not to sing the problem with the Muslims, it's the problem for the Muslims. And this is where the song comes from, is the fact, this is why I write these songs in the first place, is because, okay, so imagine the EDL come out and do a rally against Muslims, and the Muslims come out and beat them up, okay? The news puts in, Muslims beat up white people, okay? That's the way it works. So imagine the EDL go do a march and say they want to get rid of Muslims, and then the Muslims don't turn up because they turn the other cheek. They're bigger than that. Then it turns out they're cowards. They can't be painted in a good light regardless of what happens. So this third verse is pretty much the reason why we have to sing songs like The Problem with the Muslims to people and piss them off. So This is the third verse. The problem for the Muslims is they just can't fucking win if they choose to ignore or stand up and confront this army made of imbeciles, alcoholics and angry dins who are led by a bunch of right royal anti-cons. So obviously I've put in the anti-cunt thing in there because it's a great way of making people laugh and saying cunt, and also continued on the theme of standing up for women's rights. Women's rights, hang on, genital freedom, I suppose, is what it is. Okay, so yeah, so the problem for the Muslims is they just can't fucking win if they choose to ignore or stand up and confront. Explain that bit. This army made of imbeciles, alcoholics and angry dins. I still haven't worked out why or how this happened, but every time I've ever met someone from the EDL or etc., they've usually been on the piss. I'm not making that correlation in terms of, you know, alcohol makes people racist. I'm just saying that racists drink quite a lot, and it's a depressive. It's, you know, it's one of the it's what a horrible drug it is. You know, it's really bad for you in terms of your self-esteem and stuff like that. If you're getting older as well, you know, life's pretty bleak out there. So you can understand why these guys suddenly want us to scapegoat everyone. What they should really be doing is looking at themselves, obviously. So yeah, is they just can't fucking win. And this army made of imbeciles, alcoholics and angry dins, who are led by a bunch of right royal anti-cunts. So if you look at Britain's First or whatever, EDL, all those guys, you look at all of them, they seem to be little bitching, complaining sort of holier than thou sort of people, so for me it's just one of those things where you just go, okay, right, it's just them, that's what's stirring it up. It's time to smack it down a little bit, but obviously bassists seat racists, so that's why I had to write this song. Okay, so we'll get on and play the whole song in full in a minute. Thank you so much again to everyone who's entered the raffle to win this car. It's got about a week and a half left to go. There's about 80 tickets or so left. Please buy them, they're fundraising my life. Essentially I'm going to be spending most of the winter in a car going around trolling people, hopefully making a little bit of an income along the way, but also at the same time there's going to be places where I'm going to have to run. That's why I've got this thing. So I'm doing that, and then there's also there's the 5-year thing. This is album 10 coming up that I'm just about to record, so that means I've been doing this for 5 years. That also means that Dan Parkinson's been doing this for 5 years as well. So every 6 months I go to his studio and we record an album, and it comes out pretty good, I think. So there's the 5-year thing, which comes out on a USB stick. There's also pre-ordering the Troubadour CD as well. By all means, you know, there'll be tour dates released soon. Just basically thank you very much. I know what I do won't get on the radio, and I know what I do won't get me massive acclaim along the way, but at the same time what I do I hope is valuable in some way. So so thanks very much. Right, okay, let's play the song and get out of here. I've got to go play squash. The problem with the Muslims is they just don't integrate, says a man who only integrates down the pub. He says they're brainwashed zealots of a cult that worships hate, and he should know because he's made out of pure love. This is what we get when we give lonely, angry drunks the internet. The problem with the Muslims is they don't obey our laws, says a man who's chopping up cocaine in the bogs. The way they treat their women makes him hate them even more, before he goes off and tells the barmaid to wank him off. This hypocrisy will be the end of you and me. The problem for the Muslims is they just can't fucking win if they choose to ignore or stand up and confront. This army made of imbeciles, alcoholics and angry dins, who are led by a bunch of right royal anti-cons. Anti-cons.